Well, I was a participant in the Emmett Till investigation that you're about to hear about, but my role here today is as a facilitator, and I'd like to tell you a little bit about that format. We're going to have 3 formal presentations in order from Dale Killinger, FBI Supervisory Special Agent, Dr. Edmund Donahue on the medical legal aspects of it, and finally from Reverend Wheeler Parker on community impact factors. Following that, we're all going to assemble up here and entertain questions. So pay attention with this, have fun, and save your questions till the end, and we'll all be here to answer them and respond. Our first speaker this evening is FBI Supervisory Special Agent Dale Killinger. Began his career with the FBI in 1966. He's a graduate of Millersville University in Pennsylvania and a former U.S. Army Ranger. Agent Killinger is currently working in counterterrorism located in Washington, D.C., but has kindly taken a break from his work in counterterrorism to revisit this experience and share his perspective with us.
So let me talk a little bit about, I've got about 30 minutes with you today. And it was about 2 years I worked on the Emmett Till case altogether. And I first want to thank the family. Mr. Parker's here today from the family. Without the family, and probably without Emmett's mother, we would never have investigated this case. I never knew who Emmett Till was. In the spring of 2004, my supervisor asked me to come into his office for a moment. And he explained to me that there was a young man who was murdered in 1955 and that we were going to investigate the case and that I was going to be the case agent. He told me his name. I had never heard the name before in my life. So I went to the public library and I got out a couple books and I read. I started reading and started figuring out who was involved. And my other cases were still ongoing at the time, and in fact, at the very beginning of the case, all I was allowed to do really was research. And I happened to be on the telephone one day with a gentleman, very distinguished black gentleman, who was probably in his mid to late 60s. He was an attorney. And we were talking about something completely different. And I just asked him, I said, sir, I said, can I ask you something completely off topic? And he said, sure. I said, well, I'm the case agent on the Emmett Till case. I'm not from Mississippi, and I'm not from the Deep South, and I'm white. What advice do you have for me? I was met with complete silence for about 30 seconds. And when he spoke, he was almost in tears. And he said, Dale, I can barely speak about Emmett Till. It had such an impact to me in my life. My mother wouldn't let us go out of the house for 4 months after he was murdered. And we spoke for a while, and that was my first real clue of the deep impact that Emmett Till had on this country and on his family and friends and what he has on today. So that's kind of where I'd let off. So I've got a little time with you. I could speak about the case all day. Obviously, I won't. So I'm going to really cut through some of the chase on what we knew and what we didn't know, kind of from the 50s. But what did I know in 2004? Well, Emmett Till's on the Civil Rights Memorial, the third name. We knew there were all these books and movies published, and here most of them are. And that was really the baseline that I had to go on. And as I read those, I focused on not the civil rights impact, because obviously that's large, but who saw what, who knew what, who were the witnesses I needed to find, and the evidence I needed to locate. Other movies, we also found out really quickly there were no original investigative files, no really original court files, a couple pages here or there. And there was no FBI investigation in 1955 related to his death, specifically about his death. There were some other peripheral investigations, but not about Emmett's death. We knew there was a lot of media coverage. We didn't know of any interviews of J.W. Milam or Roy Bryant other than the Look interview that was done by William Bradford Huey. We knew there was a trial transcript somewhere, but no one had seen it since the 60s. We knew there had been no autopsy of the body, and we knew that the defense was claiming that it wasn't Emmett Till in the river in Tallahatchie County. And of course, we found out that Roy and Brian and J.W. Milam, the two who admitted to killing him in the Look magazine article and who were acquitted, we knew that they had deceased. But we also found out that the presiding judge was deceased, all the prosecuting attorneys were deceased, and 4 of the 5 defense attorneys were deceased, and the 5th one has now passed away. All the jurors were deceased, and both sheriffs were gone. We didn't know where the murder exactly took place. We had some hints in some films that were made. We didn't know where the body was exactly recovered. We really didn't know forensically and scientifically, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that the body that was recovered was Emmett Till. We didn't know where that trial transcript had disappeared to. We didn't know where the ring was or any other evidence, the cotton gin fan, and we really didn't know where the witnesses had gone. And I'll talk about that for just a second. Imagine going back 50 years in an investigation and trying to find the witnesses to this crime. We had witnesses who were sharecroppers, young sharecroppers, old sharecroppers in the Mississippi Delta before the Great Migration really started to begin. For those of you, I'm sure many of you in this room probably have relatives who are from the Mississippi Delta or Georgia or Alabama. And then when the civil rights era was really kicking off and violence had increased, many of the families moved. I know the Wheeler Parker's here, the Till family, Crosby Smith, I don't think he's here today, but Emmett's great uncle, Simeon Wright's dad, and Crosby Smith's dad, they moved families entirely from the Mississippi Delta and Tallahatchie County up here to Argo and in the area. And I tell a story. When I was here investigating in 2005, I went to get gasoline, and the girl asked me for my driver's license, and she said, "Oh, you're from Mississippi. My family's from there." I mean, there's just such a population that migrated here. So back in the day, and hopefully you can read this, I'll go over most of it.